and especially when it relates to intimacy scenes and to scenes where there is a mix of intimacy and violence.
In this case, every single text message, document, and piece of communication is being made public and placed online for everyone to see, allowing the audience to read through everything themselves, form their own opinions, and ultimately decide whether or not anything inappropriate or sexual actually occurred. For me personally, the way I've always connected with a character is through wardrobe, because clothing is deeply expressive and helps me fully inhabit who that person is, making it easier to step into their mindset and emotions. That context matters now more than ever, because Justin Baldoni has just released a new batch of so-called receipts. And with each release, Blake Lively's carefully curated public image is taking another blow. The behind-the-scenes footage from the It Ends With Us premiere is impossible to dismiss, stripping away any room for her usual charm, media training, or narrative control. With every new clip that surfaces, the situation looks less like a simple misunderstanding and more like a deliberate attempt to bend the truth. And Blake's decision to double down instead of pulling back is only amplifying the damage. What may have initially been a manageable PR headache has quickly escalated into full-scale legal and reputational chaos. And it's becoming increasingly clear that she's in far deeper than she anticipated as the gossip machine goes into overdrive. Online commentary is relentless. Fans are dissecting every frame and statement, and many are already saying that Blake may have sealed her own fate in this saga, with the fallout growing messier and more complicated by the day. Meanwhile, allegations have been framed in a way that paints others as committing offensive behavior, despite repeated insistence that there was no direct interaction at all, while on-set moments were carefully staged and framed to create a misleading narrative of proximity and intent. Just days ago, I released a video breaking down every major PR misstep Blake has made since this entire circus began. And honestly, it's baffling that she or her team didn't take notice, because it's painfully obvious that both her PR team and now her legal team are failing her at a critical moment. Instead of pausing, reassessing, and choosing a smarter strategy, Blake and her inner circle are doubling down, pushing a narrative that feels increasingly disconnected from reality and only making the situation exponentially worse. The delusion is undeniable, and at this point, Blake Lively may ironically be the most unlively figure in Hollywood right now. This is the kind of controversy that demands popcorn, because it's time to call out inconsistencies, contradictions, and outright falsehoods. For added context, Blake has developed a reputation for playing the victim whenever situations don't go her way, and the public appears to have reached its limit. What may have started as a clout-chasing move or a sympathy-driven strategy in her dispute with Justin Baldoni has turned into something far bigger and far more damaging than she expected, especially because this time Justin isn't staying quiet, and the receipts just keep coming. He's coming in hot with receipts, and his attorney Brian Fredman has made it clear that they plan to release rock-solid evidence aimed at dismantling every single claim Blake has made against Justin. And honestly, you have to pause and acknowledge just how calculated and strategic these releases are, because it's savage in the most deliberate way possible. What started as small screenshots has now escalated into full-blown, highly damaging videos. And with each drop it becomes clearer that Blake Lively may be moments away from being completely flawed. The first major bombshell was the emotional voice note of Justin describing how he was locked in a basement during the It Ends With US premiere, followed by an actual photo proving he was there, and now a full unedited video that directly contradicts her claims of inappropriate behavior on set. The exact moment Blake labeled as harassment deserves serious scrutiny, because when she included that footage in her lawsuit, she claimed it was muted due to music meant to play in the background, leaving the public with nothing but her version of events. What she didn't count on was the fact that Baldoni had the original, unedited footage, allowing everyone to hear every single word spoken in that room. It's just Justin and Blake, both clearly out of character, chatting, laughing, and engaging in relaxed, unscripted banter during the so-called harassment moment. Justin leans in and says he's getting beard on her. Blake giggles and responds that she's probably getting spray tan on him. Justin comments that it smells good, and Blake casually explains it's just body makeup. The exchange reads as playful, flirtatious, and lighthearted, not threatening or uncomfortable, more like honeymoon phase goofing than anything resembling misconduct, complete with Justin referencing his wife and Blake chiming in without hesitation. This directly clashes with earlier allegations as well, including Blake's claim that Justin barged into her trailer while she was breastfeeding, when text messages show her explicitly inviting him in with a casual message saying she was breastfeeding and to come over. Then there was the accusation about a producer showing her a disturbing biography, which conveniently omitted the fact that it was actually an artistic portrait of his business partner and their newborn sitting in a bathtub. Despite all of this, Blake now expects the public to accept that what we just watched was harassment, and the situation only escalates further because after Justin began releasing these receipts, she reportedly contacted the Human Rights Office in the Southern District of New York, claiming the leaks were retaliatory and requesting a gag order against him. At this point, you almost have to pause and let that sink in, because instead of the narrative tightening in her favor, it appears to be unraveling in real time. Wasn't Blake herself actively working with the New York Times to push a narrative built on half-truths that ultimately smeared Justin Baldoni's reputation, even though large parts of that story have since been demonstrably false? After publicly damaging his name and allowing that version of events to spread unchecked, she now appears desperate to silence him just as he begins telling the full story himself. Blake has claimed that Justin wasn't being truthful, yet the moment he starts releasing unedited footage, voice notes, and concrete evidence, she suddenly seems to be scrambling to regain control of the narrative. One of her allegations included the claim that when she confronted Justin about inappropriate behavior, he responded by saying, "I'm not even attracted to you," a statement that raises eyebrows on its own. Additional footage shows Justin squarely in his element on set, seamlessly balancing directing and acting while maintaining a professional environment, even calling for breaks once enough takes were completed. Blake's assertions that she was visibly uncomfortable are directly contradicted by what's captured on camera, where she appears relaxed, joking about Justin's nose, laughing freely, and actively participating in slow-motion shots without hesitation. Even the body-shaming accusation, in which she alleged Justin criticized her weight before a scene that required him to lift her, completely collapses when compared against the footage, which shows no such tension or concern. With every new video, voice note, and behind-the-scenes clip, a consistent pattern emerges. Justin appears professional, collaborative, and at times playfully light, while Blake's allegations continue to unravel under the weight of verifiable evidence. Rather than strengthening her case, her PR maneuvers and legal tactics have backfired dramatically, creating an image of overreach, inconsistency, and narrative manipulation. From the emotional basement voice notes to full, uncut set footage, each new release chips away further at her credibility, transforming what once began as a handful of screenshots into an avalanche of proof that her version of events does not align with reality. The public is now watching these contradictions unfold in real time, seeing the playful banter, shared laughter, mutual joking, and collaborative directing process that point to a cooperative and professional working environment. Yet, despite this mounting evidence, Blake continues to push harassment claims, seek gag orders, and attempt to control the narrative after already making her accusations public. A move that only highlights the widening disconnect between her statements and what the footage actually shows. Justin's decision to release the original, unedited material not only undermines the harassment narrative entirely but systematically dismantles her credibility, revealing that moments she labeled as inappropriate were, in fact, standard, consensual, and playful on-set interactions. The contrast between Blake's claims and the reality captured on camera could not be more stark, as scenes she portrayed as hostile or intimidating appear clearly lighthearted, professional, and collaborative, leaving audiences questioning not just the accuracy of her allegations, but her motivations as well. From the basement incident to the slow-motion scene, every newly released clip reinforces the impression that Blake's claims were exaggerated at best and outright misleading at worst. And her repeated attempts to involve legal authorities to silence Justin after already publicly damaging his reputation only make her position appear more desperate with each passing development. The growing collection of video evidence, emotional voice notes, and corroborating text messages paints a remarkably consistent picture of Justin Baldoni as a professional navigating a complicated production with a mix of structure, humor, and consideration, rather than the hostile or inappropriate figure Blake has tried to portray. As her narrative continues to unravel under sustained scrutiny, both the public and industry observers are now re-examining every allegation she made, directly comparing them against the steadily expanding archive of material Baldoni has released. And the conclusion many are reaching is that her legal and PR strategies haven't merely failed. They've actively amplified her credibility problems. Each new piece of evidence, whether it's playful banter, shared jokes, relaxed body language, or moments of straightforward professional directing, further erodes the foundation of her allegations and leaves Blake in an increasingly precarious position. With her reputation hanging by a thread, what's emerging is a troubling pattern of exaggeration and misrepresentation that makes it harder and harder to separate her claims from what actually occurred on set, while underscoring how the ongoing release of verifiable, unedited material is systematically dismantling her version of events. Even the much-discussed issue of Justin asking about Blake's weight takes on a different meaning when placed in context, as it was reportedly rooted in concerns about his own back problems and the need to safely perform a lift, a practical and health-related consideration rather than a personal critique. The irony becomes impossible to ignore when juxtaposed with footage showing Blake joking openly about Justin's nose, raising uncomfortable questions about why humor at his expense is framed as harmless while a health-related question on his part is labeled as offensive. At this point, the situation has spiraled so far that discussions about professionalism and legal accountability are being drowned out, by debates over noses in the middle of an active legal battlefield, especially amid online speculation about Blake's appearance over the years, speculation she has never publicly addressed. Meanwhile, the steady drip of leaked footage continues, and Blake's response has struck many as remarkably tone-deaf, with her legal team now claiming that every new video somehow proves the very allegations they've been making against Justin from the start. This has created a surreal standoff in which both sides point to the same footage while insisting it validates their position, repeatedly declaring, "I told you so." Blake's attorney has gone on the offensive, arguing that each new release only strengthens her story and accusing Justin's team of orchestrating media stunts. Yet the clips themselves appear to tell a very different story, one that continues to undermine her claims rather than support them. In the scene now sitting at the center of the controversy, the video shows Justin leaning toward Blake multiple times, placing kisses on her forehead, brushing his face and mouth near her neck, flicking her lip with his thumb, caressing her, complimenting how she smells, and engaging in casual, unscripted conversation that clearly wasn't lifted directly from the script. Blake's camp has framed these moments as improvised actions done without prior discussion, explicit consent, or the presence of an intimacy coordinator, attempting to present them as confirmation of her allegations, yet viewers online appear to be watching something entirely different. With social media flooded by people openly questioning whether everyone is even looking at the same footage, the debate has escalated so intensely that acting coaches, film professionals, and behavioral analysts have begun dissecting the scene frame by frame, and a majority are siding with Justin, pointing out that experienced actors understand not every movement is rigidly scripted, particularly in scenes meant to feel natural, intimate, and emotionally connected, where gestures like a forehead kiss, light touching, and playful banter are often part of the organic flow. What further complicates Blake's claims is that her own actions mirror the same improvisational energy, with her hands resting on Justin's neck and her active participation in dialogue that, while partially scripted, relies heavily on natural timing, reaction, and chemistry. Observers repeatedly note that there is no visible malicious intent anywhere in the footage, no signs of coercion, tension, or discomfort, but instead to people laughing, joking, and clearly vibing with one another, including Blake playfully commenting on Justin Baldoni's nose while appearing completely relaxed and at ease. Despite this, her assertions of visible discomfort find no clear support in the material now circulating publicly. As the footage continues to spread, social media has erupted with speculation that Justin could potentially walk away with a massive, possibly 9-figure settlement, while Blake lively faces serious personal and professional fallout, with some even predicting strain on her marriage as public opinion swings sharply against her. Online commentary has been ruthless, with users roasting Blake for what they see as taking a collaborative on-set interaction far too seriously, while simultaneously criticizing Hollywood's endless cycle of scandal, overcorrection, and performative outrage. From playful on-set moments to legal theatrics and viral breakdowns, the narrative has completely flipped, exposing a widening gap between Blake's allegations and the reality captured on camera, and leaving audiences questioning how a scene that appears lighthearted, professional, and collaborative became the foundation for such explosive claims. As more footage continues to surface, it's becoming increasingly clear that what Blake's legal team hoped would serve as vindication is instead highlighting serious inconsistencies in her story, with fans and analysts closely examining every frame and noting that laughter, mutual improvisation, and shared jokes dominate the footage, leaving little room for the harassment claims she has asserted. What's unfolding now feels like a textbook case of Hollywood drama gone viral, where perception, social media speculation, and legal maneuvering collide, yet the actual evidence appears to tell a very different story. With each new clip, voice, note, and text message, the situation escalates, adding layers of complexity that point to a central theme. Justin Baldoni's professionalism and playful on-set rapport sharply contradict Blake's narrative, a contradiction that industry insiders and public commentators are increasingly calling out, potentially reshaping reputations, settlements, and the personal fallout from a feud that began during what was supposed to be a straightforward film production. Disaster continues to spiral for Blake as Justin stands firm, with his legal team releasing more footage aimed at dismantling her claims while teasing even bigger bombshells, especially as the moments Blake frames as harassment are now being revealed as scripted scenes pulled directly from the book, raising questions about whether she fully understood the material at all. Lawsuits are flying. Blake is attempting to convince the public that a carefully planned scene was something far darker, and yet the internet isn't buying it, with growing backlash suggesting her desperation is only making things worse. Adding fuel to the fire, old footage involving Anna Kendrick has resurfaced, dragging Blake back into headlines once again and suggesting that her conflict with Justin may only be the tip of the iceberg as past tensions reemerge. Reports of strained relationships with Anna Kendrick, lingering bad blood with Leighton Meester, and even allegations of mistreating interns are painting a picture of a star whose Hollywood relationships are rapidly unraveling, with the Anna Kendrick feud allegedly dating back to their time on A Simple Favor, where behind-the-scenes tension, awkward press tours, and passive-aggressive interviews fueled rumors of conflict that neither actress ever directly addressed, despite co-star Henry Golding attempting to downplay the drama. Insiders claimed the animosity was real enough that when a sequel was greenlit years later, Anna reportedly hesitated to return, forcing director Paul Feige to keep the two actresses separated on set to avoid a complete blowout. The chaos reportedly contributed to Blake refusing to promote the sequel, and when combined with her ongoing legal battle with Justin Baldoni, the situation quickly spiraled, allegedly angering Amazon, which had invested heavily in the film and is now said to have shelved it indefinitely despite positive early test screenings that had fans excited to see the duo reunite. Adding fuel to the fire, rumors began circulating that Blake was iced out of the Golden Globes earlier this year, reportedly receiving a noticeably cold reception as Amazon quietly pulled the plug on the sequel, reinforcing a growing narrative of burned bridges and a mounting career crisis. As the industry watches closely, Justin Baldoni continues to push forward aggressively, seeking a staggering $400 million in damages and making it clear that he views his reputation as being on the line, transforming what could have been a typical he-said-she-said dispute into a high-stakes courtroom battle that may ultimately define both of their careers. Public sentiment is increasingly shifting, with fans picking sides and many turning against Blake as leaked footage, mounting evidence, and Baldoni's calculated legal strategy casts serious doubt on her claims, leaving it ends with us potentially concluding not on the big screen but in court. The drama continues to evolve as new footage surfaces and old conflicts resurface, with every public statement and leaked clip adding to the narrative of a star whose once polished image is fraying under the weight of lawsuits, industry backlash, and relentless fan scrutiny. While Justin maintains a composed and methodical approach, presenting evidence and keeping a professional tone, Blake's responses have appeared increasingly desperate, with her PR and legal teams struggling to control the narrative as social media magnifies every inconsistency and contradiction. With stakes this high, studios, producers, and audiences alike are watching closely to see whether Blake can weather the storm or if her career trajectory will continue its sharp decline. Driven by the intersection of legal jeopardy, public perception, and resurfacing Hollywood rivalries. Meanwhile, the ongoing leaks, courtroom drama, and online frenzy serve as a cautionary tale about celebrity disputes, the fragility of reputation, and the risks of attempting to shape narratives in an era where the public can see behind the curtain, leaving fans, journalists, and insiders analyzing every development as the outcome threatens either to solidify Justin's victory or leave Blake with a legacy defined by controversy, misjudgment, and a string of professional setbacks that could follow her for years.